For free people refuse to live in a world of hopelessness and darkness. We will have a different future, a brighter future, rooted in democracy and principles, hope and light, of decency and dignity, of freedom and possibilities. For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power. God bless you all, and may God defend our freedom.
And there you go, folks. That little snippet you just heard could well be the declaration of war between America and the Russians. Much as we all feel that Putin must go, oh, he's a wanker and he's a killer and he's a murderer and he's a psycho and he needs to be taken out and all that. We can say that because we're private individuals, we're nobodies, we don't count. But in the labyrinthine world of diplomacy, for one national leader to declare that another national leader should be deposed is considered a declaration of war. It has been used, asking for a regime change has been used in the past as a pretext for war. Now, either Biden is gaslighting us all, saying that, you know, America is going to go to war, but without saying America's going to war, but, you know, prepping us all for the announcement. Or he's a moron, an Alzheimer's moron with mental issues and an IQ of a shoe. Why on earth were his team beside him, his writers, his political advisors, everyone, that surely couldn't have been in the speech. I don't believe that would have been in the speech. That's him going off in his own crazy little mind. Well done, America. You voted this idiot in, and he may well have just talked himself into going to war with Russia. I don't want that because Britain is right in the middle of the two. And if America fights Russia, it's going to be fought in Europe. Please do something about your president. Please just do something. Save the world. Anyway, there's a piece here I'm going to go through, and it's all relating to this. It's just unbelievable. But we'll go through it, and we'll have a look. Yeah, so here's the headline. Biden is slammed for his unscripted declaration that Putin cannot remain in power. Experts fear off-the-cuff remark will escalate tensions. Yes, it's bound to. It's absolutely bound to. Crikey, you need to gag this man, or at least put his mic on a 10-second delay and have a beep machine. Biden appeared to call for regime change in Russia during a speech on Saturday on Warsaw. For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power, he said in an unscripted remark. The call for Putin's removal from power alarmed foreign policy experts who say it will escalate tensions. Yeah, it could lead to war. They warn that appearing to back Putin into a corner could give him nothing to lose. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Never leave your enemy with nowhere to run. Because he has nowhere of escaping, then he has nothing to do but fight. Obviously, Biden's never read Sun Tzu. Or Janet and John, for that matter. Kremlin responded with instant fury to Biden's comment, saying the US has no say in Putin's leadership. The White House scrambled to attempt to clarify Biden's remarks, insisting he was not calling for regime change, even though we all saw that's exactly what he was calling for. The man cannot be allowed to remain in power. What the hell's that, if not calling for regime change? Unbelievable. President Joe Biden's call for Vladimir Putin to be removed from power is setting off alarm bells among US foreign policy experts who fear it could escalate the tensions even after the Kremlin scales back its war aims in Ukraine. For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power, Biden said in a shocking apparent call for regime change in Moscow at the end of an impassioned speech from Poland on Saturday. The unscripted remark, of course it was unscripted, there's no way a scriptwriter would put this in, which the White House scrambled to walk back as the Kremlin expressed fury, came at the end of an otherwise resolute and fiery speech. Fiery speech? This is Joe Biden. There's no way it was a fiery speech. It was a rambling, boring trail. God almighty. Nothing resolute and fiery comes out of his mouth. Anyway, rallying the free world to unite in opposition to autocracy and the support of Ukraine. Richard Haas, the Council on Foreign Relations president, tweeted his concerns that Biden had just expanded the US war aims, calling for regime change. However desirable it may be, it is not within our power to accomplish. Plus, it runs the risk. Badly written article. Plus, it runs the risk it will increase Putin's inclination to see this as a fight to the finish, raising odds he will reject compromise, escalate, or both. Our interests are to end the war on terms Ukraine can accept and to discourage Russian escalation. Today's call for regime change is inconsistent with these ends. Inconsistent with these ends is political speak for we've got a raving lunatic in the White House. It's every country. We keep having leaders that are morons or dangerous. Can we stop doing this, people? Can we just stop voting in morons and psychopaths? Anyway. Haas went on to tell Politico that a senior Biden official, possibly even Secretary of State Antony Blinken, needs to reach out to their Russian counterpart immediately and explain that Biden's comment doesn't reflect US policy, and just explain that Biden is a moron with brain damage from all the years of, kissing arse. The fact that it was so off script in some ways makes it worse because it could be read as Biden's genuine belief as opposed to his scripted words. Yeah, probably is his genuine belief, but he hasn't got any concept of what his words mean because he's gaga. Honestly, he should be in a home with matron, bringing him meals, patting him on the head, telling him not to worry, maybe someone will come and visit another day. Jesus Christ. Biden's remark could also diminish Putin's interest in compromise and increase his temptation to escalate in Ukraine, because if he believes he has everything to lose, then he'll believe he has nothing to lose. Well, yeah. Before Biden could even board Air Force One, or the ambulance as they're calling it, to begin the flight back to Washington, his aides were rushing to claim that he hadn't been calling for an immediate change in government in Moscow, even though that's exactly what he said. The president's point was that Putin cannot be allowed to exercise power over his neighbours or the region. No, that's not what he said. He was not discussing Putin power in Russia. Yes, he was. Or regime change, which he was, a White House official said. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov quickly denounced Biden. He won't be the only one, will he? A whole queue of people. 7.8 billion. Saying it's not up to the president of the US and not up to the Americans to decide who will remain in power in Russia. And yet, strangely, Russia decides who will remain in power in the Ukraine. Hypocritical much? Biden's alarming off-the-cuff remark comes just 24 hours after the White House rushed to clarify other awkward remarks from the president, suggesting that US troops would deploy, and had already deployed, to Ukraine. They haven't. This is what's going on in the president's tiny little wobbling brain. He's confusing thought and reality. He's confusing opinion with fact. He confuses what goes on in here with what goes on out here. The drugs aren't working. It's time for a care home. Give him his little slippers. Give him a little pipe. Sit him on the doorstep and let him watch the world go by. And then maybe, do the kind thing with the pillow. In a speech to the US paratroopers of Poland on Friday, Biden said, "You're going to see when you're there. Some of you have been there. You're going to see women, young people, standing in the middle in front of a damn tank saying, 'I'm not leaving.'" When you're where, Joe? When you're where? Dear God. Biden's mention of when you're there seems to suggest the troops would be deployed across the border to the Ukraine, but the administration insisted there had been no change in his stance that the US will not enter the conflict. Oh, they might well be. A lot sooner than you think. Look at him. Bless. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know who he is. And he doesn't know what he's saying. And that's what happens when you vote in a man with Alzheimer's. The president has been clear. We are not sending US troops to Ukraine and there is no change in that position, a White House spokesman clarified to Fox News on Friday. Yeah. Biden has persistently said that troops would not be sent to Ukraine under any circumstances during Putin's invasion, fearing it would turn into World War III and end up becoming a lengthy combat mission like in Afghanistan. No, it really wouldn't. It would be a very short war. It would be a really 20 minutes. The sun would be rising at 11 o'clock at night. Yeah. In his, again, fiery speech, yeah, my name's Joe Biden. Yeah, fiery man. Snooze fest. In his snooze fest speech, Biden drew a stark line between democracy and oppression, and repeatedly going after Putin and accusing the Russian presidency of dishonesty. He is calling someone else dishonest. Oh my God. Was his nose growing? Speaking outdoors in the cobbled courtyard of the royal castle in Warsaw, which was lit with the colours of Poland and Ukraine, Biden accused Putin of using brute force and disinformation to rule, unlike every other leader, because every leader uses brute force and disinformation. Every single one. That's what your police force is for. Well, the police force is for the brute force, and politicians are for the disinformation, because they're all lying bastards. It's nothing less than the direct challenges to the rules-based system of international order, Biden said. Biden also took a cue from Arnold Schwarzenegger, who released a video message to Russians that went viral and spoke directly to the Russian people. I'm telling you the truth. This war is not worthy of you, the Russian people, he said. Putin can and must end this war. The American people will stand with you and the brave citizens of Ukraine that want peace. And he warned Putin's aggression could bring decades of war to Europe. It's nothing less than a direct challenge for the order established since World War II, and it threatens to return to decades of war that ravaged Europe before the international rule-based order was put in place. We cannot go back to that, said Biden. Biden also moved to calm worried Eastern European nations. He made it clear that NATO alliance would hold together, and he warned Russia not to think about expanding his invasion outside of Ukraine. Will it, though? One only has to ask, if Putin puts one boot into a NATO member, and the NATO agreement is that you attack one NATO country, you attack them all, will the others stand up? And when I say will the others, I mean Germany won't, because Germany hasn't got a spine. So if Putin went in to, say, Poland, would Germany go to war against Russia? No, it wouldn't, because they're cowardly, spineless wankers. And they're still buying gas from Russia, and they're refusing to give Ukraine weapons, because they don't want to upset Russia. Craven. Don't even think about moving on to one single inch of NATO territory, he said. We have sacred obligations. Biden mentioned his own conversation with Putin before Russia's invasion last month. He said Putin repeatedly, he asserted he had no interest in war, guaranteed he would not move. I'm thinking 1939, and there's Neville Chamberlain getting off the plane after his trip to Munich, holding his little piece of paper. You know, I have in my hand a piece of paper, there shall be peace. A week later, we're at war. Oh dear. So, yeah, it's just getting worse, isn't it? But Putin and Russia met each of the proposals with disinterest. Russia was bent on violence from the start, he said. Yeah, the democracies of the world are revitalised, and we'll end that there. I'll come up, but this is it. Ultimately, he's a moron. He doesn't know what's going on, and he may well have just talked you into war. So I hope you got your boots ready, America. You're going to need them. But I'll come up now and we'll round this off. Well, we're now much nearer to war in Europe because America voted in Joe Biden. An idiot. And not only him, I mean, Russia voted in a psychopath, you know. Not that I'm just blaming the Americans and the Russians here, because every country does it. Here in Britain, we've got Boris, for Christ's sake. France, they voted in a tiny dwarf who likes shagging grannies. Canada, you got the communists in charge. Germany's got the Greens. Jesus Christ, that's even worse. You know, we all get the leaders we vote for. We all get the leaders we deserve. And we deserve these leaders because we keep voting them in. Gustave Flaubert in Madame Bovary, he said, every autocracy gets the police force it deserves, or something. If I'm misquoting that somewhat, but it's a similar thing with leaders. You know, every regime gets the leader it deserves. But really, we don't deserve these tossers. I fear for Russia, the only way to get rid of Putin will be a coup. America, you're more hopeful. You have the 22nd Amendment. The only trouble is, look who comes in after him. Do you trust her? Because she's as thick as he is. Only she can't blame Alzheimer's. When it all goes wrong for her, it's down to her natural stupidity and rabid communism. So I think America, you might need to do something new president. In Britain, oh, we'll just tut. But we'll vote. The trouble is we've got no one to vote for because the opposition are shit. It's a worrying state of affairs, isn't it? When the only people you can vote for are either morons or psychopaths, because they're the only ones who somehow get to the top. Anyway, I shall leave it here. If you enjoy these videos, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring the bell for notifications. Leave a like. Leave a message. We read them all. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and goodbye.